You're live.
Thank you, sir. I'd like to welcome everybody tonight on this nice toasty evening in council chambers. Please join me with the invocation, which will be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. If you would, please bow your heads. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day and all the blessings you have given us. We thank you for the opportunity to serve the citizens of Elkins. We ask that you guide us in our decision-making as we strive to help our community grow. We also ask that you watch over and guide our country's leaders. In Jesus' name I pray, amen. I will now call our council meeting to order and ask our city clerk to take roll, please.
Councilor Bros Friganera. Here. Councilor Chenoweth.
Here.
Councilor Kwanzaa. Present. Councilor Griggs.
Here.
Councilor Guy.
Present.
Councilor Hinchman.
Here.
Councilor Lowther is delayed this evening. Councilor Parker.
Here.
Councilor Severino.
Here.
Councilor Vest.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you, sir. Okay, is there anyone here for public comment? If not, we will move down to the minutes portion, and I will entertain a motion to accept the May 18th, 2023 minutes as proposed.
So moved.
We have a motion. Any comments or discussion? If none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Down to our committee reports. We will start with Councilor Chenoweth.
With respect to the Personnel Committee, I don't have a report because we haven't met since the last council meeting. Our next meeting is next Thursday, the 8th of June, here at noon at City Hall. That's all.
Thank you, sir. Councilor Guy.
No report.
Thank you. Councilor Hinchman.
Finance has not met yet, and it'll be next Monday at 10 o'clock here in the chamber.
Thank you, sir. Councilor Severino.
No report.
Thank you. Councilor Griggs.
No report.
Thank you. Councilor Bros Friganera.
Yes, the only thing I have to report is that I will not.
Councilor, your mic is really hot, so unlike everyone else, you can't quite get as close. Sorry about that.
All right. How's this? Is this okay? Because of the fact that two members of Rules and Ordinance will be moving off the committee, I've decided not to have a Rules and Ordinance committee meeting unless there's some pressing issue. Since the animal ordinance took up a huge amount of time, and the next thing that I want to tackle will take a huge amount of time, it didn't seem like it was worth it to start with one group and then move to another. Planning Commission will be meeting next Thursday. I have not seen what is on the agenda, but I imagine we'll be continuing a discussion on working on the comprehensive plan. And that's all I have.
Thank you so much. Councilor Kwanzaa.
No report.
Thank you. Councilor Vest.
No report.
Thank you. Councilor Parker.
Yes, sir. No report from public safety. From the task force, we have a bit of news. We met with representatives of 4 of the 5 counties in what you might call a logical sub-region of our larger region that the state has set out essentially as a structure for dealing with the opioid settlement funds. That larger region extends from Mon County all the way down here. It includes Mon, Marion, Harrison, a few other places up there, and us. It's 13 counties that are not necessarily alike. We do not have great similarity with a number of those. So what, actually at the suggestion of Chief Bennett, we talked about putting together an informal sub-region within this great big region that may or may not make sense. But the sub-region is 5 counties. It's Lewis, Upshur, Randolph, Tucker,
And Barber.
and Barber. And we all have a great deal of similarity in terms of our needs, in terms of just, who we are as everyday folks within those 5 counties. We met with 4 of the 5 regions. The 5th, we know the county commission president is on board. The mayor and Chief Bennett will be meeting with that county commission in Barber County this coming week. And their response so far to the idea, the proposal that we form this informal sub-region has been very positive. It was a good, productive meeting. And at some point in the very near future, we will be coming to you, the city council, to get consent, essentially the consent of council for the city to participate as an entity in this sub-region. That really needs to happen with your blessing. So we'll be coming to you for formal action on that, some grandiose proclamation or whatever we can cook up for you. But I wanted to give you a heads up that we'll be doing that. And to this point, after having discussed this at a number of levels, it continues to make great good sense and will give us, I think, a much stronger position in relation to securing funding from that trust fund once it's established. And we will get much greater efficiency and effectiveness for every dollar if we, work together with the other 4 counties. So just please have that on your radar, and we'll let you know as soon as possible. We'll come up to you with something. That's all. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Okay, moving down to the staff reports, we have the Chief Water Operator, Wes Lambert.
Good evening. The water department's been pretty busy over the last few weeks. The weather's been cooperating for us. Of course, that's a double-edged sword because we'd like to have a little more rain. The water's starting to drop a little bit, but we'll take it. The weather's been good. We've been getting a lot of yard work done. We've got 9 new water taps installed. We also completed the Georgetown Road project, so the city now has a brand new section of 2-inch water line that extends from the Oddfellows Mansion up to the intersection of Georgetown and flood control. So we can now service that area up to approximately 15 houses now on that line, should they sell that property and the houses move in there. We also installed 150 feet of 2-inch line on Harmon Lane. We will also continue to work on the yard work at these sites as the yard settles. That sometimes takes 2 to 3 weeks depending on the traffic in that area. So we were also able to purchase a new line locator and leak detector. So the guys are going to start going out and looking at some suspicious problem areas that we kind of think there's leaks, but we don't want to just dig up the road to find out. We want to kind of pinpoint the area first. So luckily, we got that new line locator yesterday, or the leak detector yesterday, rather. So that'll help us out a lot. We are also going to start doing some hydrant and valve maintenance this month. This will include exercising, repairing, and landscaping around the site. Some of the sites started to get some weeds and briars and such growing up around it, so we're going to start trimming that back to make it more accessible. At the plant, the guys have been working on inventory and going over process control. Over the past few weeks, the guys were trying to isolate what we thought was a leak on the 24-inch raw water line that runs from Barron Avenue to High Street. Now, this would have been a huge problem because that line, everywhere that line runs, is underneath of a pretty good section of blacktop, and it's usually a real cluttered area of town where that line runs. But luckily, it turned out that the leak was on a check valve down at the raw water building. So we're going to call a company in to rebuild that check valve. So we lucked into that one there. For training and certification, as of May 26th, which was the last CDL class, For last month, we have a total of 4 water system employees that have passed their written CDL exam and have moved on to the 20-hour driving requirement. So once they get that 20-hour requirement, they'll be able to take the actual driving portion of the CDLs and become fully licensed. The reason this is beneficial to us is in the past we've only had one certified CDL driver, and in order to move any equipment, heavy equipment, to our leak site, we had to rely on that one guy. So now we'll be able to have potentially 4 guys, well, 5 guys, including the one that was certified, to actually move that equipment for us. So this is really going to revolutionize our department. For the flood control, yesterday we installed new metal hatches at the Outlet Works log stop building. The old hatches were starting to rust, and quite frankly, they weren't safe to walk on. So we got that taken care of. We also ordered and received a backup electric hoist. So now we have 2 electric hoists over there should one fail during an emergency situation. We also have been getting estimates on expanding the security fence that runs along the Haddix Road over at the Inlet Works. We recently had some folks dump some trash over the hill up there. So hopefully this will help eliminate that possibility of having that happen again, because that is our drinking water impoundment. So hopefully that'll take care of it. And we ask the public, please, if you see someone doing this, please report it ASAP, because that is our drinking water impoundment. So, and that's all I have for this report. Any questions?
Wes,
Yes, sir.
as we come up on the year end, how's the budget look in terms of revenues over and against expenses?
Revenues have been decent so far. Of course, you know, we're not going to get into the actual fiscal year 24, which will actually see brand new budget with the rate increase, the total rate increase impacting that. So, but so far it looks okay.
But we're staying within budget?
Yes, sir.
Good.
It's getting healthier.
Yeah, yeah.
Could you explain where it was that you had to build the fence because of trash?
Yeah, it's over on Haddix Road, where the Inlet Works is, you got the Georgetown Road, then you take a left across the flood control,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
Haddix Road is over across from that. They threw the trash over the hill right there. I guess they backed their truck up and just threw it over the hill. Yeah. So we took the excavator over there and could reach the majority of it and cleaned it up, but we got to get a fence built back over there to keep that from happening. So.
Okay, thank
Any
you.
other questions? Thank you, Wes.
Thank you.
Okay, Chief Bennett.
Good evening. So in May, we responded to 546 calls for service that resulted in 29 cases and 18 arrests. In comparison with the rest of the year, that brings our total year calls for service to 2,669 and 126 total arrests. So far this year, the 3 most common offenses that we've had are assault, drugs, and larceny. No surprise there. That's usually the top 3 for us every year. And other things going on. Last week, we had one officer, it was Corporal Shiflett, complete homicide investigation training in Columbus, Ohio. He was up there all week doing that. Said it was a great class and was enjoyable training. June 21st and 22nd, we're hosting a company coming in to teach first-line leadership training. Everybody, corporal and above from our department's going to be attending that. July 17th to the 24th, the World Association of Marching Show Bands, I'm sure everybody's heard of that, in Buchanan. That's going to be helping. We're going to be assisting Buchanan Police Department, Upshur County Sheriff's Department with that event as well. We expect, with the number of people coming, that Elkins will also be very much populated that week. All of our hotels and stuff here should be full that week as well. Everywhere from Bridgeport to us is expecting to be packed. So we'll probably see a lot more activity that weekend. I think the last time that I spoke before you, we had a spike alert for overdoses come out a couple days before council. And I said we will see that here in a couple days. and our ER was inundated that weekend with overdoses. Well, we have another one this week, about 2 days ago, so I could say with pretty good accuracy, we will have the same thing happen this weekend. That's all I have, unless anybody has questions for me.
So when you say we'll see something happen, what do we see happen?
I'm saying we will have a rash of overdoses this weekend.
Does the police department respond to that?
Yes, we do. Usually not. If we can get there and help in some way, we try, but thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Mr. Kessiker.
Good evening. First, I want to start out by thanking Wes and the Water Department for all the help out there with the flood control plan. Getting those trap doors installed is one of the many steps that it takes to get the Army Corps of Engineers on our side and get everything listed as active. Speaking of the Army Corps Engineer, they will be in on June 21st to conduct a site visit, and also they are going to do a risk communication presentation. I'll send out an invite to anybody that might want to attend that. It's pretty informative. They've changed their inspection process. A site visit does not allow them anymore to change a plan from being inactive to active. They're not allowed to make any permanent changes with site visits. They can only do that on annual visits. We're hoping this site visit will lead into an annual visit in July, which would then be able to put us in an active state. Had a meeting this past week with Gary Kennedy of Electronic Specialties regarding upgrading our key fob system. For those of you who don't know, it's definitely something that has got to be addressed immediately with in sight of what happened there, I don't know, last week before last. So without going into greater detail, we're waiting on a proposal from him, and we've bounced several ideas off of each other to make the building more secure, including the glass door downstairs. And as he gives me those ideas and those quotes, I will be passing them on along to the appropriate committees to move forward and get it taken care of. Taggart Valley Soil Conservation assisted the street department looking at the flooding issues on Weiss and Diamond Street. They've come up with a pretty good plan of action for those locations, and I'm going to reach out to the Department of Highways to come look at that as well and see if we can do a joint effort on each side of the bridge there to dig out some stream and cut some trees back and make it a joint effort to make sure that quits flooding in that area. Those people deserve to have proper drainage in that area, just like everybody else does. If you look at your action items this evening, you'll be voting tonight on a resolution for the contract for the pigeon management with USDA. No changes in it, it's just a formality. So they're looking forward to getting started on that and getting everything back up and running there. And as always, I'll stop with my code enforcement report. 31 warnings letters sent out for high grass, 26 have complied. This is for the entire month of May. 2 citations have been issued, 3 are still to be determined, meaning they still have some time to get their work done. In the trash area, 15 warning letters have been sent, 6 have complied, 9 were still within their time frame. Derelict vehicles, 20 warning letters sent out, 5 have complied, 15 to be determined. And vacant structures, we've sent out 10 more warning letters, 2 more have been registered. 1 is taken off the list, is now in use, and 7 more have still a little bit of time before they will be registered. So that's where we stand. I'll answer any questions.
I don't have a question, but thank you very much for the work on Weiss and Diamond Street. That's been a problem. Both Marilyn and I have received comments from residents in that area, so it's exciting to see that will be dealt with.
Well, we didn't want the answer to be, we're working on it. We want the answer to be, this is what we're doing. So hopefully, since we had the soil conservation company come in and look at it and make their recommendations, now we have a professional opinion of how to move forward. So I think we can make some progress there.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Ms. Judy.
Good evening. In your packet, you have the P-card purchases and the fuel purchases January through March, and then the rebate for the quarter. And then the second page just provides the rebates for the last 3 quarters. Business licenses have been mailed out effective July 1st through June 30th of next year. They are all due by June 30th. In the final stage of the sewer and water budgets, fiscal year 24, they will be going to those boards for approval. And last week, or 2 weeks ago at the meeting I attended, one of the topics, as I had mentioned, was about PEIA. What they're hoping to have the legislature at least do is open that plan back up. They said that closing the plan has really affected the premiums. And basically the reason for getting new municipalities or counties in, when you have new enrollees, about 80% of them are healthy, 20% are not, and it'll take some time for those premiums of the healthy ones to pick back up. They're thinking maybe 3 or 4 years, but they really feel that's the only solution because we're not eligible for any state relief. So hopefully they'll get that passed, but that was the main topic at that meeting. Cybersecurity was part of it. The B&O taxes, we know, will be coming back up again at the legislature. A lot of discussion. Not really sure how we're going to handle that, but that is one of our 3 major revenue sources. So if that is taken away without some kind of replacement, that's going to be a huge hit to the city. So that's all the news I have. Anybody have any questions? All right,
Thank you. Chief Himes.
Good evening. So for the month of May, we had 54 calls for service. That brings our annual year-to-date total to 257. That's about a 16% increase from this time last year. Last week, we had 7 members of the paid staff attend. We actually hosted it, but they attended a fire instructor course. This is a training certification that is required for promotion down the road for some of them. Some, it's not that far off. So it's an effort to try to enhance our internal training program. We can offer additional certifications, hopefully at a cost savings, because we have people on staff that can assist and perform that. They have 2 weeks to complete their homeworks, and they have to finish up on June 10th with a teaching presentation and written examination. So they're looking forward to that, I think. And we have, to just update you on our CPR efforts, we've actually had 112 people attend our CPR classes since the first of the year. So we're running to a couple, anywhere from 2 to 3 a month. It just depends on the need, and some are for specific locations that are closed classes, and then offering the periodic ones that are open to the public. So if anybody has any questions.
How do we post it on Facebook when these classes are open to the public?
I believe they have been,
Okay.
But if you just want to get on a list for a class, just call the fire station and they'll
Okay.
put you down. Okay.
I'd like to do that.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Mr. Stokes.
Thank you, Mayor. As some of you may have noticed, early voting is underway in City Hall, started on Wednesday. I think we've had a total of 48 votes cast so far. That'll be available 9 to 4:30 every weekday through next Friday, and it'll also be available 9 to 5 this Saturday and next Saturday. We'll be training the Election Day poll workers in here on Saturday, So take advantage of early voting if you haven't yet, and make sure you encourage your friends and neighbors too. As I mentioned last time, there is police testing on June 17th. Applications are available on the website. They need to be turned in by June 13th. So if you know any good candidates for joining the Elkins Police Department, let them know about that. I can take any questions from anyone that wants to know more. We have a packet that they get that contains all sorts of information about the job and benefits and the process. All right, and then just sort of some scheduling business by way of confirming. There was a memo in your packets about just confirming what the date and time is going to be for canvassing the election. As you remember, that's the 2 business days after, 6 business days after, or 6 days after the election. A quorum of council needs to meet as the canvassing board to review and rectify ballot counts, try to cure as many provisional ballots as possible, and that sort of thing. And then at least 48 hours later, you have to meet again simply to certify the results of that process. In the meantime, during that 48 hours, that's when someone could request a recount. As I mentioned in the memo, there's a holiday in the middle of that 48 hours, so we'll do 72 hours. The legal requirement is just for at least 48 hours, so that'll make sure no one's injured by a shorter process with a holiday. So the date 6 days after the election will be June 19th. I noticed last year it was at 11 a.m. Does that seem like a time when 6 or more of you would be able to meet to do that process? And we don't have to hash it out right now. I can send an email around just to verify that, but that seemed to work last time. And then whatever time we pick, we'll pick an hour later and add 72 hours to that on June 22nd. So right now I'm thinking June 19th at 11, June 22nd at noon, and we can hash that out by email just to make sure a quorum will be present. Any questions about that?
Do we know, is that going to be a state holiday? Because it's
Is what?
Juneteenth.
It is a state holiday, yes. It's not a city
Okay.
holiday.
All right, and that's okay?
It's a business day here in town,
Okay.
or at City Hall anyway.
Okay.
Anything else, sir?
That's all I have.
All right, thank you. Okay, moving down to the approval of the vendor invoice payments. I want to entertain a motion to accept, please.
So moved.
We have a motion. Any comments or discussion? If none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Okay, down to new business. We have Resolution 1662, the contract for maintenance of City Hall flower beds. I'll entertain a motion to accept, please.
So moved.
We have a motion. Any comments or discussion?
I have one comment, just for next year, when you redo this contract. From the fact that the tree board's done it for so many years, we kind of have an idea that you don't really need to be in there every month. So you can definitely cut back on how many, they're doing it every month, it looks like. It's just not necessary, so you might just want to keep that in mind for next year.
I'll make sure Mr. Keziker makes note of that, so
Okay, that's all I got to say.
thank you. Any other comments?
What flower beds does that contract include? Is it just the flower
It's
beds
a-
around City Hall?
Yeah. In the front and on the side.
Any other comments? If none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Resolution 1661, USDA APHIS Cooperative Service Agreement. I'll entertain a motion to accept, please.
So moved.
We have a motion. Any comments or discussion? If none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Ordinance 316, an ordinance of the Common Council of Elkins, West Virginia, amending and reenacting City Code, Chapter 90, Animals. This is the first of 2 readings. I'll entertain a motion to accept, please.
So moved.
We have a motion. Any comments or discussion?
I do have one comment, and I was hoping our city attorney would be here. In section 90.04, where it talks, let me find it here, where it talks about what birds one can kill. We had talked about that in our last meeting. As it reads now, no person shall at any time kill or injure any wild bird, blah, 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 except for birds of prey, crows, and English sparrows may be killed at any time, blah, 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 blah. And we had discussed striking that language out because birds of prey, it is illegal to shoot certain birds of prey. I know we have the statutory reference as to what to follow, but it was our feeling that the person who wants to go out and shoot a bird of prey is probably not going to look up a statutory reference, and it was our recommendation that that language be stricken. So I don't know whether it'd be better to postpone this until that can be taken care of, or...
Can we pass
I-
it
I think-
with an amendment?
I think you could pass it as is right now and let the attorney opine as to whether making that change before the final reading would be substantive enough to then require starting over.
Okay.
But I think it's possible that's such a small change, you just can't make really substantive changes between the two readings. But worst case scenario, it just has to get read a third time after the change is made. But it might just pass this time and next time.
Okay. And then another comment that I have received from a constituent dealt with 90.08 animals running at large. And I know we had a long discussion on how certain aspects of that section would be enforced. And I think Chief Pennant, you had sort of mentioned, this is should I say what section this is? It has to do with cats. One of the main differences of this whole ordinance is that we always had just dogs listed, and we made a change to have it just be listed as animals. So there's people who are concerned about how we will be able to enforce areas. For example, the second part, it's unlawful that an owner knowingly or willingly allow his or her animal to defecate on public property, except the defecation by animal, et cetera, et cetera. And I know that Chief mentioned how you are handling cases like that. So, do you have a mic? Oh, okay. If you could maybe adjust that would be great. And cats running at large in general.
Sure, we're not going to be able to enforce every animal in the city of Elkins running at large or defecating on people's property or anything like that. That's just the way it is. Same way we're not going to cite every single speeder that speeds through Elkins. It's not physically possible. But what this does is it gives us the ability when we have severe problems to do something about it and have our ordinance back us up. So instead of it just saying dog, if you have any other animal, dog, cat, ostrich, rhinoceros, or whatever, and it's going to your neighbor's yard and using the bathroom every day, we'll be able to do something about it because it doesn't specifically apply to dogs.
And one of the, correct me if I'm wrong, but one of the other issues we had was the fact that our old ordinance for animals running at large, it was a challenge for the Randolph County guy because we did not have in our ordinance that cats could be dealt with as
Correct.
well.
Those
So
dogs
now cats are on alert. We're going to try to come after you, and there's a legal basis for that person to do so. Did anybody else have any other questions about this? It's pretty exhaustive.
I was going to ask a clarifying question about 90.04, and are you proposing to strike all the exceptions or just birds of prey?
To be perfectly honest, one of the things that we did mention was the fact you can't shoot firearms within city limits. And with crows, there is a season, I believe, with crows. Any hunters here? So we're asking people to know their bird species pretty well too. You know, what's an English sparrow as opposed to a house sparrow, and it just seemed cumbersome to have that in there, and especially birds of prey, because that is erroneous and illegal. Even though we have a statutory reference, I think just saying that on the front end can be very confusing, and
I agree, birds of prey doesn't make sense. I'm thinking maybe we should put pigeons in there since we're signing a contract for pigeon management. That might make sense. And that seems like everyone knows
well,
what pigeon
we have at the bottom of the language, it has action taken pursuant to a state or federally sanctioned program and having a contract with the APHIS folks. That's a sanctioned program.
May I make a comment?
Yes, sir.
I don't understand why we even have that paragraph in there. It seems to me like we're trying to rewrite state law that's already there and protects those species.
There's another one for Jerry.
Yeah.
Let her deal with it.
Are you talking about the entire 90.04?
Yeah, I see no reason for it to be there.
Yeah, I seem to remember we were just going to state code
Yeah,
for that
right.
section.
That's, yeah. I mean, was my understanding, that it was going to be just mentioning the codes that already were in place.
Plus, it's just going to be a big problem.
Yeah, I think it will
People
be.
killing birds and stuff, and it's going to be a nightmare. Just get rid of it.
Any other comments? We do have a motion on the floor for the first reading. So,
Would that be considered a substantive change, you think?
That's up to, I mean, Jerry will have to
Okay.
opine on that, but
All
I
right.
think it might not be, especially if you're just saying this section is just going to go by state code. But
Okay.
again, best case scenario, that'll count as the first reading. At the second reading, that change
Okay.
can be made. Worst case scenario, it'll just have to be read a third time.
the next time will be the first reading after all, after she makes.
I'm cool with that. Thank you.
Okay, then. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Yay for all the other aspects of it.
Okay, down to mayor's comments. I'm going to keep these very brief tonight because, like I said, it's very toasty in here. I had the privilege of taking part of my third Memorial Day service this past Monday. Unfortunately, it did rain and we had to move it inside, but it was still a very tastefully done ceremony. I mean, they always do a tremendous job. And I would highly encourage anyone who hasn't heard Johnny Ross as a keynote speaker, if you get the opportunity, you need to. The guy is very passionate. He has served our country for 23 years and just has an amazing speaking voice and just tremendous. So if you ever get the opportunity to listen to him, please do. I also want to say congratulations to 22nd Century Technology. We did a ribbon cutting last week, so more jobs for our area. If you know anyone who's looking for a job, please send them their way. They're looking for workforce right now. So if you get the opportunity, welcome them here. And I also got to attend the Game Changers event at the Greenbrier last week, which is basically a program to address the opioid issue within our school systems. And the Harrison County Superintendent of Education was speaking, and she did a tremendous job. She's going to probably come and speak at our task force meeting to let us know what they do in Harrison County and how we can get the messages out to our kids in our schools. And prevention is part of what we're trying to do with our task force, so there's no need for us to reinvent this wheel if they have a program that's already working. So, like I said, if you guys want more information on that, I will definitely get it to you, but like I said, we're hoping to have Ms. Dorr come sometime in the near future. And with that, I will say, meeting adjourned.